Let's bring in Louisiana Governor, Congressman rather, Steve Scalise. I am not awake yet. House Majority Whip. Thank you very much for talking to us. All right, so first of all, let's just talk about the Democrats, how hard they will push against this. Because as we know, Senators Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they have made it clear they are not funding this wall under no circumstances, which explains why the president this morning on Twitter has called for a nuclear option to ram border wall funding through the Senate. Here's his tweet, basically calling on the Senate to change the rules so Republicans can pass through the bill, writing, Mitch, use the nuclear option and get it done. Our country is counting on you. Is Mitch McConnell going to push this through?
Well, Julie, good morning. First of all, I think some of those same Democrats that you're saying that are saying there's no way they'll get it passed, they were the same people that were saying there was no way we would get it passed in the House last night. So I think there's something really important about the weight of the American people pushing on this issue and President Trump continuing to fight to keep America safe. And that's really what this fight is about. Chuck Schumer voted to have a wall years ago. So this isn't about whether or not we should keep America safe. Some of those Democrats that you're talking about just don't want to see President Trump get a win. And the American people see through this. They want a secure border. They elected President Trump in large part because of his promise to keep this country safe. Let's follow through on it. Let's see them put the votes up or at least start negotiating. Last night, with the huge vote we put up, 217 to 185 in the House, we gave President Trump tremendous leverage in this negotiation to keep America safe.
So the Department of Homeland Security, I want to talk about the funding, if they were to get the $5.7 billion. Homeland Security estimates this border wall would cost about $21 billion. There was an MIT study a few months ago that estimated the cost could actually double that. So even if the $5.7 billion did pass, where does the remaining $15 billion come from?
Well, that's over years, but what President Trump has said is in the next year, he needs about $5 billion to build the wall and to use technology and other things. One of the things you've got to look at that we put in our bill yesterday, there are prohibitions in law today that tell the president where he can and can't build the wall. They tell the president in law what he can and can't use to build the wall. So President Trump knows there are much more efficient ways to build an even stronger wall that cost a lot less money, and yet, ironically, in a bizarre Washington twist, he's blocked in law from using those smarter, better ways to build wall. We took that out. We removed all of those prohibitions, so we let the president build the wall in the best, most cost-effective way for this country, saving billions of dollars as well. All of that was in the bill. Let's let now the Senate and these Democrats in Washington that used to be for a wall until President Trump wanted it. Now let's start a negotiation where President Trump has real leverage. They walked into the White House last week and said the president won't get the votes in the House. The president just put up a huge vote on the scoreboard yesterday working with us.
Okay, regarding the nuclear option, that's basically the big question on the table right now. I want to play Sarah Sanders, a clip from her interview on Fox and Friends this morning, recommending just that. Listen.
They should. This is such an important issue, and it's something that all of America wants to see happen. And frankly, Americans want to be protected. The Senate has a constitutional duty and a constitutional authority to actually protect our country. We can't be a sovereign country if we don't have borders and we don't have protection of American citizens. And so we hope that they'll step up and do their jobs.
So by the Trump administration calling for a nuclear option, they're calling for the Senate essentially to change the rules, which means only a simple majority is needed instead of the usual 60-vote threshold to advance legislation to a final vote. We know Democrats are going to object to this. Could there be a compromise like you sort of alluded to moments ago?
Well, let's see if they can start negotiating in good faith. I think a lot of those folks in the Senate didn't want to negotiate because they didn't think the House would pass this bill. But now we've done that. They are going to have to confront this issue that the rest of the country's already been recognizing Washington needs to confront. We've got problems at our border. We're a generous nation on immigration. But look, every day, the Department of Homeland Security stops really bad people from coming over, bringing drugs into our country, human trafficking. Last year, ICE agents alone saved over 900 kids from human trafficking in this country, things that are happening at the border. We need to keep it safe. Let's have a real negotiation. Now President Trump has even more leverage in that negotiation because the House proved we can get it done. Let's see the Senate figure out every tool they have to go and try to figure out how to get this done as well, get that bill on the president's desk.
There have been studies that walls work. You talk about, children being illegally crossed across the border and trafficked, and that is why, one of the many reasons why this wall is needed, according to the Trump administration. But there's also another bump in the road, and that's the hundreds of miles that are privately owned by farmers along the Texas border. And there's dozens of lawsuits. They're going to cost millions of dollars, millions upon millions of dollars to settle before wall construction could even begin. Where does the money come from to settle these cases? Because this isn't something new. This has been going on for decades, these lawsuits.
Well, and all of that needs to be confronted, but that's one of the reasons why people just said, well, it's going to be just too tough to get it done, so they never did it. It's time to finally take that on. And you have a president who is a builder. Look, President Trump, more than anybody, knows how to get things done and how to build things. And there's always going to be somebody standing in your way saying, well, there's some environmentalist group that's going to file a lawsuit. Well, you know what? We usually win those lawsuits, but you have to actually go and take them on. And nobody took them on because they just said, well, it's going to be too tough. We've got a tough president now who's saying, I'm going to stand up for this country and keeping America safe. And this is a fight worth having. We need to have this fight for the future of our country.
So the president says that the Democrats want to shut down. The Democrats say the president wants to shut down. A note to the Democrats that if a partial government shutdown happens, that's bad, right? Then you've got the potential of a presidential veto or the failure of the House and the Senate to pass the same bill would actually mean that hundreds of thousands, and this is something that's not being spoken about enough, hundreds of thousands of federal employees, including Border Patrol, FBI, DEA agents, and TSA officers, would have to continue to work over the Christmas holiday without pay, while hundreds of thousands of other federal workers would be furloughed. That is something the Democrats need to listen to.
And that's going to be on their backs because, look, while the president has said he wants to get this done, the Democrats are more concerned about who gets blamed for it if it happens. They don't want to give the president a victory, but the president's fighting for America's national security and securing the border, something even people that have different feelings on immigration than President Trump, by and large, most of them think we ought to have a secure border and then have a legal way to come into this country.
Right.
And even President Trump has said there is a legal way to come here. Follow the law. Let's get back to rule of law.
All right. Congressman Steve Scalise, thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you.
Have a great holiday.